Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I so hope you're having a great day. Today, I want to take a little bit of time to encourage us, as we normally do with our devotion. I want to rest on something Pastor Brett talked about on Sunday. That's God's holiness. It's a subject that's not a common topic in our day at all, but God's holiness is covered throughout the entire of the scriptures. And while holiness can mean to be, it doesn't mean to be morally pure, to be ethically pure. It's, especially when we talk about God and His holiness, it's far more than just that. Holiness means to be set apart. It means to be different from or other than. That's why God's people are called to be set apart. So in Scripture, when we talk about the Lord, when we're talking about God, we're talking about not just one of many gods, but we are talking about the God, right? He is set apart. The same God who says that He merely spoke and the universe just leapt into existence. He's that holy. Talk about being set apart. Tim Mackey from the Bible Project explains holiness as being compared to our sun, which I think is a great way to begin to understand what holiness is. The sun is insanely powerful, right? It's so powerful that it heats our planet, and yet it is 93.88, I looked it up, million miles away. That is a long distance. For instance, if you drove from New York to California, that's just under about 3,000 miles. You'd have to make that trip over 32,000 times. And the sun is so hot, we measure things in Fahrenheit, so we'll keep it in that. 212 is what boiling temperature is, but the sun on its surface is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And at its core, it can actually be around 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Like, we can't even fathom how hot that is. And yet, is the sun needed? Yes, absolutely. Without it, if the sun were to cease today, the earth would instantly freeze up. The sun is our source. And yet tomorrow, if you went outside all day long and just shorts and a tank top, no sunscreen, and you walked around all day long, and the next day did that, and the next day that, you would regret your life, first of all, but you would begin to understand the power of the sun. And if we got on a spaceship, if we got on a shuttle or something, we tried to go towards the sun, what would happen? We would eventually just simply burn up, because the sun is that powerful. It's unlike other things that we know. In a sense, it is holy. Is it terribly powerful? Yes. But is the sun extremely good and extremely needed for life on our planet? Yes. God in His holiness is a lot like the sun. Holy is good, and holy is terribly powerful. It's just the very nature of who God is. God is both of those things. So then what does a holy God do with unholy people? I guess because the scriptures are really clear about our own lives, like we're unholy. What does He do with people who sin and choose their own way and choose their own desires, their own versions of right and wrong rather than His version of right and wrong, against a perfect and holy God? What does He do with those people? Well, Paul tells us here in Colossians, Pastor Brett read it, it says this, that He made peace with everything in heaven and on earth by means of Christ's blood on the cross. The Son of God, God Himself, God the Son, comes and sacrifices His life for unholy people. He goes on to say this, that this includes you who were once far away from God. You were His enemies, separated from Him by your evil thoughts and actions. And yet now He has reconciled you to Himself through the death of Christ in His physical body. And as a result, He has brought you into His presence, His holy presence, by the way. And then He says this last line, this is interesting. You are holy. You are holy and blameless as you stand before Him without a single fault. This is incredible, but this is who God is. Immense holiness and immense love. So 2 things I want us to do today. Take time to meditate on His holiness, his other than characteristics, things that He is unlike anything else. and worship him. Worship him for it. And then secondly, look at our own lives and do as Paul says, as he continues here in Colossians. He says, but you must continue to believe this truth and stand firmly in it. Tells us this is important. Don't drift away from the assurance you received when you heard the good news. This is the good news. Hang on to it today. Believe it. Stand firm in it. Be encouraged today. Let's worship him together. I'm also going to, at the end, and I'll put a link to that video from the Bible Project about holiness. It's excellent. And as you watch it, it should cause us to worship God in his holiness. I hope you have an incredible Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us today.